Hi there, I'm Dan Whittaker. I'm here today to talk to you about how you can learn to release the golf club exactly the same as Ben Hogan did. What he did in his swing, what you can apply to your game, and how he managed to deliver that golf club every time in a very consistent manner, which then allowed him to use the body to square the golf club. Now, he really was the very first person in history sort of thing to start using his body in this manner. He is the ethos of the modern swing. Maybe not exactly the first, but he was very, very early on in what he did. A lot of people now follow what Hogan did back there, and they see he very much used his body to square the golf club. So if you like, hit the center of his body was the turning axis. His hands moved on a bigger circle and the club moved on an even bigger circle again. The way that this worked is this meant that he was working in what we call concentric arcs. So the inner circle, meaning the body, was controlling where the hands went and therefore where the club went. Now, we're going to specifically just talk about the release of the golf club, how it works and where the club moves around. So the first thing we need to be aware of is, in terms of where the delivery of the golf club is coming from, okay, Hogan really did get that elbow to the front part of that right hip here. So that right hand was very much in this position. Okay, he had the club face a little bit more open than some people today, but he could get away with this or have it this open because he had so much rotational speed through the golf ball. And very similar to Sergio Garcia, he could actually rotate the body very aggressively through impact here, and this would then square the golf club off. For a lot of people watching, you don't want to have the club too open coming in here because you probably won't have enough speed to get that club face back to square itself up to the ball. You want to make sure it's a little bit more in a neutral square position coming down. Now, one of the things that he did was he had the golf club coming down shallow here, so the club was attacking from the inside, but he created a lot of room right in here with this daylight triangle here. So what this meant was that he had somewhere to allow the club to move around. So the theory of turning left was something that we saw that Hogan did, and it's something that we hear a lot of people talking about. Now what they're actually meaning is that the golf club, when it's coming in right here, is rotating around with the body, okay? And we can see now from this slight 45 on angle how this arm is moving in. You'll see up above me on the screen there, we can see how it's showing how Hogan's arm is moving in right there at impact, and it's the butt of the club that is moving around. Now what is happening is, when that butt of the club moves in, the toe of the club is moving out, okay? And that is what is squaring the club face. Now, the inner part of my left arm, which is right in here, okay, when the kind of the inner knobbly part of my elbow joint, will actually be moving into my body as I'm opening up. So as I open up, we'll see that that part has moved into my body, and that will then stay there, and the club stays on the outside of my hands until this point here, okay? It's after that that the momentum and the inertia of the golf club will take over, and the club head will pass my hands and end up in this released position here, okay? But we're not seeing a stall and a chase out of the hands. We're seeing that the hands are almost over the heel line here. Yeah, the club head is still on the outside of my hands. It's after that it takes over. This left arm will stay into the body here, and it will begin to fold as the left wrist has gone backwards. Now, one thing that enabled Hogan was what he did was when he opened up, the whole left side opened up, okay, and this upper left arm could move into the body. So when this slammed into the side, he then worked around, and it could then fold back down, and the butt of the club would point back towards, on an angle, towards the golf ball, okay? If he'd gone this way and gone upwards, the club would point back towards his toes, meaning that he'd hung back and he'd be chasing and flipping a little bit more. Now, going back to the release here with the arms in front, what he did was he allowed that left shoulder to open. So once this left shoulder is opening towards the target, okay, the left arm is being pulled back into the body. Now, for some people, this will feel like a rotation of the arm, a supination of the arm, as Hogan wrote in his book. It's not of the wrist, it's of the actual arm joint, of it rotating. Now, this doesn't mean that there was a physical force that he had to put in, but If there is no movement of that arm from this position, and I don't let it rotate in, but my arm just pulls in, the face would stay wide open. That arm will move in as part of my body opening, my shoulder joint going backwards, and my elbow moving in towards the body. This will then square that club face. Now I reiterate the point, you do not need to feel this for every single person, but that is what is happening, is that left arm is rotating. But if you have pronated it in the backswing, in other words, rotated it this way, on the way down, that force will want to rotate back again. So for a lot of people, they don't need to think about it. But if you've deliberately held the face open, it's something that you might want to feel. One other thing that we'll see is that we notice that the handle goes around, okay, and the weight is moving into his left heel, okay. If you can't have the handle going around and the weight moving onto the left toe, because you'll tend to stand up and block the face a little bit. So it's the handle is moving in as the shoulder is working open, and the whole left side is connecting. So that upper left arm is moving back into the body, which is then allowing the club face to work outwards and the butt of the club to move inwards towards the left hip pocket. Now, some people have been talking about how the wrist bow is coming down. Now, I don't think this is anything you need to really consciously do in your swing, but what happens is you have a frame in the downswing from here to here, that once this upper shoulder starts to open and the left arm is starting to rotate because of this, there is the last thing to move just fractionally is the club head. So because the club head is obviously attached to the hand, as this is rotating, we have a slight bow during this frame. So we have a bow there, which then flattens itself out, and it's pretty flat left wrist come impact. So it's bow because of the rotation and the club head still being back, and as it's catching back up, it ends up being flat. This is not something you need to do to try and bow the wrist. It is a byproduct of the move. We see now on the screen that's above you that you can see that that is happening. It just goes there, bows slightly, then comes back again. It's not something you need to do. It's as a byproduct of the body opening, and therefore the club being the last thing to start to go around. It's very important that you're aware of this, that it's just that club just attached to the wrist, the left side is opening with a rotation. So that is just a little bit of a physics and a bit of biomechanics movement with the wrist. But the important thing is to know that what he did was he got the whole body to move through together, or feel like it did. But the trunk was the engine. And what he did was he made sure everything got around together. You need to make sure, though, that like Hogan, that you get over that left side to be able to go around it in that release. If you are trying to go around and the weight is back like this, you'll end up having to chase because you're not over the ball enough. You're instead behind it. So you need to make sure that you are allowing everything to rotate through together, and therefore as that left arm is rotating into the body, the butt of the club is working in, and the butt of the club is working in towards the left hip socket. It's allowing that club face to move out. The toe is closing, which is slamming the face into a square position. Physics is then moving everything around. Remember, on those concentric circles, everything is working around as a unit, not any stall. We'll also notice one other thing is that what he did, he used that right elbow as a fulcrum. It stayed on the hip socket, so everything else moved around the pivot point. And as the body is opening, the left side is the gap between this left arm is closing, as the right elbow is staying in its location. If this is in your swing, you will probably have to lose a bit of height at impact to have to compress the ball properly. Hope you've enjoyed that video there of talking about Hogan's release. Got some really good information coming through. If you'd like to visit my website, please do. It's www.danwhitakergolf.com. I'm available for online lessons. Please watch the channel. We've got some really good content coming through for this. I also give in-person golf lessons. I'm based over Altrincham Driving Range in Cheshire. And I also travel over to America periodically, but 4 times a year. Please come over, see me for a lesson when I'm there, get in contact with me. Subscribe to the channel. Below is my Facebook and Twitter feeds. Have a look on there. Have some different content things going on YouTube. Have a good look around. Hopefully some of this helps your game. If it does, fantastic. Love to hear from you. Please get in touch. and I hope you've enjoyed the video, found it useful, and I very much look forward to speaking with you again very soon.